learn in order to get this right. The desired response leads to the positive reinforcer. This is operant learning. Sitting leads to cookies. And then the animal must learn that in the presence of the cue, good things can happen. Sitting when asked leads to cookies. And this involves classical conditioning. The cue predicts the availability of the reinforcers. The cue sit lets the animal know that there are cookies about. The cue indicates that the response reinforcer contingency is now active. So in which order should we teach this? Operant first or classical first? If we choose to teach classical conditioning first, we would teach the animal that good things happen in the presence of the cue, regardless of what the animal happens to be doing. The cue sit leads to cookies. There'll be no behavior, or behavior could be anything that just happens to occur between these two. In fact, in pure classical conditioning, we don't talk about cues and reinforcers. We talk about conditioned and unconditioned stimuli. Clearly, this is useful if we want to teach animals that good things happen in this location or next to this stimulus. And typically we would do this if we want to teach the animal not to be afraid of something. Present the cat carrier and then fabulous food. So taking out the cat carrier becomes a conditioned stimulus, predicting the arrival of something really nice. But this is not the way to go if we want to teach cues. If we want to teach the animal to actually respond to the cue, we must start with teaching the behavior. We must establish this first. The animal must learn which behavior brings about the consequence. And after that, we can bring in the cue and the animal can learn when behavior works. Sitting only leads to cookies when the response is preceded by a cue. Sit. If there's no cue, sitting won't lead to cookies. To phrase it a bit differently, as trainers, we first teach the animal, if you do it, I pay for it. This is the game. And then we teach, pay attention to the lights. Green lights, game on. Red lights, wait. And I must tell you, it's very difficult for animals to make this transition the first few times, to learn that the game is only on sometimes, and sometimes it's not. In the next chapter, I'll go over the details of adding cues, but the important thing to remember is don't add the cue too soon, not if you're using positive reinforcement. And then, of course, don't add it too late. More about this in later chapters.